everyone, Juliet Maris here. I help motivated individuals move away from pain and feel good again by working with their alignment. And today I am joined with one of my lovely clients. This is Phoebe Lapine. Phoebe is a chef and an author, and she also has this amazing blog called Feed Me Phoebe. She makes gluten-free food because she had some issues that she needed to work out, and she recently wrote a book called The Wellness Project, which I was part of. And so I really wanted to have Phoebe on to just talk about her journey and what brought this about. So Phoebe, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me to my own home, where we are right now.
It's a very beautiful home. So Phoebe, what inspired you to kind of embark on this wellness journey that's kind of like a full body thing?
Well, it took many light bulb moments and wake-up calls to exit my illness loop and find a new approach. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, fun name of a disease. It's an autoimmune disease that affects your thyroid gland. The symptom is hypothyroidism, which means your thyroid's not functioning properly and can affect everything from your ability to keep your weight down. It just creates fluctuations with your metabolism. Many symptoms include fatigue is up there, cold hands, or inability to control your temperature, muscle pain, hair loss. I mean, it's a very long list.
Intense. Depression, anxiety.
Yeah, it's all the fun things.
All included.
Yeah, all included. And often a lot of these symptoms are things that drive each other. So it's hard to really pinpoint unless you have a very savvy doctor who knows to look for thyroid issues, whether or not you have that type of autoimmune condition going on. So I was incredibly lucky. I was diagnosed as early as I could have been by my regular childhood doctor who did a full thyroid panel, which is again really rare.
Yeah.
But I was not the type of person who was willing to just take the Synthroid, which is an synthetic thyroid hormone, which is very widely prescribed.
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to be on medication for the rest of my life, which was how it was positioned to me. So I did what any really mature early 20-something would do, and I just went on living my life and was like, oh, let's see what happens. Denial. And then the downward spiral began very slowly. I say that my descent from Health Mountain was the scenic route, and in doing so, in a long drawn out way, it did take me the scenic route to get back up again. And so there were a few kind of baby steps towards doing that. 4 years of being untreated and doing basically nothing. It was actually I think a great instinct to not want to just take the pill, but I didn't actually do any of the lifestyle things to manage it either until much later. And so that first lifestyle change was gluten, which is really important for people with Hashimoto's since it is an autoimmune reaction. It's kind of a chicken or the egg thing with gluten because the protein looks very similar to the thyroid protein. So when your body's attacking one, it's going to attack the other. So big first baby step in terms of diet was doing that. And it definitely helped me get onto a higher plateau in terms of my health. But a lot of the same symptoms kept arising. My digestion was a mess, my skin was a mess. And ultimately, the vanity, the skin piece, is
that's the biggest part for most of us. For me, it is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, vanity is a very powerful motivator in a good way. But it took me so long to even, realize that what was happening on the outside was reflecting some imbalances on the inside. And I knew that the imbalances on the inside existed. I think it was just, again, real easy denial of a different variety. I was just I'll take the antibiotic for the skin. That's a one-time thing. Fingers crossed. That's fine. So long story short, I kind of oscillated in that middle part of my story to reading all these wellness websites, to seeing more integrative, holistic doctors, and feeling like I was being pulled on the other side of the spectrum of basically turning my life completely upside down and replacing everything with organic cotton and baking soda, which didn't really appeal to me either. And part of that, some people have no problem turning their lives upside down, but I was, a young person in the food industry who was deeply devastated by the idea of having any sort of food allergies because I felt like it really affected both my social life and my career. So the idea of doing all these things on top of it, of only eating organic, and you know, it just felt really unsustainable for, again, both of those two buckets of my life, which were two buckets that made me incredibly happy.
Right.
So, I mean, whatever. Yeah. So I ended up actually, after all these skin problems kept cropping up, I kept taking antibiotics. Eventually, like, not even the antibiotics would work. And yeah, I was like, I have to find a new approach. I have to find a way to do right by my body without giving up my life, which is the subtitle of the book. No, but I mean, I didn't want to just be healthy on paper. I felt like I had been given like the laundry list of things I had to do in order to check those boxes. But to me, like, there wasn't really a roadmap. It wasn't really showing me how to find a life going forward, a new life. So in these light bulb moments, Gretchen Rubin's book, The Happiness Project, came to mind. And what she did was she kind of created these like 12 macro categories, which she tackled one per month, and kind of these sub experiments within them for all aspects of her happiness. And I was like, okay, well, what if I could do that for my body? Because really all these symptoms were happening on all sides of the spectrum, including I was throwing my back out all the time. And you know, that's not terribly uncommon. Again, muscle pain is one of the symptoms of Hashimoto's, but it was also just like a symptom of, as Juliet diagnosed me, a crisis of weakness. because of all my other symptoms, I completely stopped exercising. You know, I was exhausted all the time. Aches and pains. I actually lost weight instead of gaining weight, which it turns out was just because my gut was in such dire shape that I literally couldn't absorb any nutrients. And yeah, so it was about, you know, giving myself, again, this roadmap for doing one change 1 month at a time, which felt a lot more realistic than just throwing a lot of darts at the wall and seeing what stuck. And it also allowed me to say, okay, well, let's do this with awareness. Let's make the intention behind this whole macro project to find the balance between health and hedonism. So not only was I going to see, like, did these things actually work for me? Did they actually make a difference for my body? But also, like, paying attention to all the things that were also impacted, because there's so many other sides of wellness: financial wellness, social wellness, and just seeing, you know, like, what were the downsides? What were the things that get in the way?
Right.
And if something, you know, made a huge impact, that was maybe reason enough to say, okay, well, like, the good outweighs some of the downsides. But it was really kind of making that pro and con list as I went, so that I can say, okay, like, here's the Venn diagram of things that don't make me feel like I'm taking an infrared sauna in hell, and those are the things that are really going to stick. I think it's that balance of not having your choices detract too much pleasure from your life, and also, like, be really worth the time, money, and energy you spend on them in terms of the good things they do bring to your life.
Yeah. And what I really loved about Phoebe's journey is that she journaled on her blog, her Phoebe
I
blog.
know, it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. And so as viewers, we were able to just take part in her journey, even though we weren't doing it, or some people I think probably did, you know, take part in what you were doing. So we were kind of like part of the journey, and we heard what was going on with her each step of the way. And she was terribly honest, which I really respect and appreciate about her, because a lot of wellness trends, like, we hear, oh, it's like so great and this and that, but she's like, it doesn't actually taste that good, or this doesn't actually make that big of a difference for me, or I didn't get it, or I didn't feel it, you know. So as a viewer, just being able to see her experience was really, really helpful, at least for me.
I'm so glad. I mean, no, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to chronicle the experience, why I wanted to eventually turn it into a book, is because I felt really lost, again, when I decided to commit to the wellness side of things. I felt like all of these green goddesses on Instagram were making it look so easy and not acknowledging the fact that change is really hard. And secondly, I met a lot of those people, you know, just from being in the space already, and their lives were actually a whole lot more balanced than what they were posting every day. Included more margaritas and more, you know, GMO tortilla chips. You know, a lot more flexibility when it comes down to it. And so, I wanted to just, you know, be real about the whole thing. And there's, you know, there's something to be said for the people who are just living these incredibly clean lives. It's very inspiring, especially for people who are new to the world. But I also think that it can be, pretty daunting and overwhelming for some people. And for me, I find vulnerability to be inspiring, like the mess. I find that inspiring. So that's what my goal has always been in terms of sharing my story.
I really love that. So if there's one thing that's like super hard for you to do, but you know it's going to give you kind of like the biggest bang for your buck, do you feel like there's anything like that for you?
Yes. Well, so morning routines, I know. Everyone talks about them. But meditation, doing those 20 minutes in the morning, I tried to do the...
Oh, you do a full 20?
I do a full 20. I mean, my teacher in the Vedic persuasion says, I was supposed to do 40 minutes a day, 20 in the morning, 20 in mid-afternoon. Mid-afternoon, eventually, I was just like, consciously, that's not going to happen. Like, we're not even going to strive for that anymore. Which is, again, like, it's totally okay. Like, so long as it's a choice. And I think that's a very empowering choice to say, I'm not going to feel guilty about this anymore. It just doesn't fit into my life. So, I try and do the 20 minutes in the morning. Didn't do it today.
That's okay.
But most weekdays, I manage. And it's not always the best meditation, but just sitting, I think, is good and grounding and makes me sets the stage for a lot more focus and calm than reading emails in bed, which we were talking about before we went live.
So if there's one thing that you could leave our viewers with, like if they're kind of struggling with their own body and wellness journey and just kind of confused about where to start, what advice would you give to them?
I would say, like, important, just start. All it takes are baby steps. I think people just, again, like me, get so overwhelmed by the laundry list of things that we're supposed to be doing. So one actually kind of takeaway from the book that I'm trying to help people with as I put this book out into the world is to just do kind of a micro wellness project. I'm calling it 4 weeks to wellness. And so instead of designing a whole year for yourself, which I realize may be intimidating for some people, we can just do a gateway micro project of saying, I'm going to take a month and I'm going to do these 4 things. It can be one a week, potentially layered, but just doing one thing at a time. And I recommend actually picking a focus similar to how I did for all of my months, so that you can really see like a before and after, so you can really set a goal and not just be like, okay, well, I want to hydrate more, I want to meditate, I want to do all these things. So some of the examples from my book are I did a month on detox, so giving my liver a break, transitioning to green beauty products, or just finding more natural ways to care for your skin. If skin's an issue for you, there are a lot of, like, many things you can choose in terms of those 4 weeks. Back health, alignment. I'm sure Juliet can do a 4 weeks to wellness for that. Hydration, stress, hormones, digestion, / gut health. So many things, sleep, exercise / general movement. I think I've maybe successfully named all 11 chapters, I don't know. But anyway, dental health, that was the one that I didn't get to do on my wellness journey, which is still on the agenda. So I may do that as my 4 week to wellness project around the book.
I like it. Awesome. And was there anything in our work together that you found like shocking, or you were like, that's so weird that this would be the case, or I don't know why this is happening, or anything like that?
Absolutely. I think I had many big revelations with you. Crisis of weakness. Learning about my pelvic floor, and that's the base of the tree trunk that I needed to strengthen. But then, with you, just discovering all of the emotional sources of my back pain and realizing how much stress and anxiety and and anger that I was holding inside was contributing. Just acknowledging that and having that aha moment. I mean, I haven't really had as many problems, and I still have anger and anxiety, trust me.
Well, you're human.
Yeah, I'm human, but you know, just having that knowledge somehow just, it's not showing up in my back anymore.
That's really good.
And one book I read, I think I recommended to you at the time, was Dr. John Sarno's book, Healing Back Pain, which is like a cult woo-woo book. It's like a psychology book. I mean, it was referenced twice on that Showtime show Billions recently. But it's honestly, it's amazing. And I've heard about it over the years from other kind of creative types who also had back problems and say the book saved them. And yeah, I'd say the combination of my work with you and just reading this book was enough to just like, again, just like take me out of my loop and just set me on a completely different track when it comes to my back pain.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great.
But I mean, the realignment stuff is of course really important too.
Yeah.
And yeah, once that was fixed, then I could actually get back out into the world and exercise again.
And move around.
Yeah, and so that has been also a big part of not relapsing. But the emotions, don't discount those.
No, they're pretty serious.
Yeah, I mean, I was realizing, and I feel like, I don't know if we talked about this, but I realized like after the 4th time, oh my God, every time I throw out my back or my neck, it's the day I have to get on a plane. Like before, if it was after the flight, that would be understandable as like a physical thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, God, like not afraid of flying.
Right.
What is it?
I don't know. It could be some sort of like underlying fear or anxiety about the trip ahead.
Yeah, I think so. All different types of trips too.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting.
Okay.
Took like the 3rd time for me to be like, ooh, pattern.
But even just like making that connection that is a pattern for you, like you can set yourself up to like really have some stability before you get there, and like maybe meditate in the mornings before you have a flight, and see what that does. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I really appreciate you taking your time with me today, Phoebe, and I suggest everybody go out and read this book, for nothing else, just to hear somebody else's journey, because wellness is something that's really getting big now. It's a lot of people are connecting to getting back to the basics, and this is a great resource for, I'm saying that like I've read it, but
it's out,
but
May
I'm sure
16th.
it is. I'm sure it is. But just a great resource for taking part in somebody else's journey, and there's always little bits and pieces that we can learn from somebody else's experience. So I hope you all have a lovely month, and I will see you next month. Bye-bye.